Well, hey everyone, it is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. It's great to be with you on Inspirations for Your Life. Thanks so much for joining me. Today is, yes, Monday, February 17th, and welcome to Inspirations for Your Life. Our master topic for the week, by the way, in case you guys didn't know, is how to align your intentions with actions. So that's what the week is about. But today's particular show and the granular topic is this, and that is to set intentional habits. So, what's that all about? Well, we'll dive into that in just a moment. Maybe you want to go to the fridge and get something cold, or can we get something hot from your kitchen as well, or maybe get something healthy to snack on, or maybe just something sweet to snack on. Anyway, why not check that out? And also check out believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations. Or if you'd like to rewatch any of the shows or the content that I produce. Welcome back, as I said, to another episode of the Inspirations for Your Life podcast with myself, John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, your podcast host and podcast coach. And today I'm unlocking the power of intentional habits, the daily choices and routines that shape your success, mindset, and overall well being. Too often, people drift through, I'm going to say, life on autopilot, allowing habits to form passively rather than with a purpose. And I think that's important to understand. But what if we could take control of our lives? What if instead of reacting to life, you intentionally design the habits that drive you toward success? So, in this episode, I'm going to explore the psychology behind habit formations, why setting intentional habits is the key to long term success, and the practical steps you can take to reshape, yes, your daily routine. Whether you're looking to boost your productivity, improve your health, or elevate your mindset, this episode is packed with some gems to give you science backed strategies, real world stories, and actionable takeaways to help you build the habits that will stick for life. What's coming up? Well, stay tuned because we've got so much to share with you. Well, number one, let's just dive right in, all right? What are intentional habits? That's a great question. So, not all habits are created equal, in case you didn't know that. Not all habits are created equal. Some are formed passively without much thought, while others are deliberately crafted to support growth and success. Intentional habits are the key to creating positive change in your life because they align with your goals, aspirations, etc., your values, and your long-term vision for life. So, I'll discuss how even the smallest purpose-driven changes can lead to significant transformations over time. Of course, I'll give you a story when we come back, but I'm going to go through all the points right now. Why intentionality matters. Have you ever felt stuck in a cycle of unproductive routines? Yeah, we all have, right? So that's what happens when habits form without intention. Setting habits on purpose allows you to take control of your life instead of letting external circumstances dictate your outcomes. Well, exploring how being intentional with your habits can lead to greater productivity and improved focus is the key to life and overall life satisfaction. Number three, the science behind habit formation. I love this. Why do some habits stick while others just sort of fail by the wayside? The answer lies in the brain. It's called the habit loop. Q. So it's a routine and it's a reward process by understanding how habits are wired into our brains. You all remember Pavlov and the dog, okay, right? Well, we can leverage this process to replace bad habits with good ones. And, that's not as hard as you think it is. It just some people get into the mindset that they don't believe that they can do it. But I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that you absolutely can do it. It just takes a little bit of practice. So, by understanding how habits are wired in our brains, we can leverage this process to replace bad habits with good ones. And we'll make new behaviors become autonomous or automatic. So, we'll dive into how neuroplasticity plays a role in habit building and how you can reprogram your mind to work for you rather than against you in our story when we come back. Number four, steps to build intentional habits. Creating lasting habits requires more than just willpower. You need a strategy. I'll break down the steps to form intentional habits form identifying your why to setting the small, actionable, achievable goals. You'll learn why starting with micro habits is more effective than making drastic changes, and how to use habit stacking to integrate new behaviors seamlessly into your daily routine. Number five, breaking bad habits. We all have habits that hold us back, whether it's procrastination, whether it's negativity, such as self talk or unhealthy routines. We all have them. But breaking a bad habit isn't just about stopping a behavior, it's about replacing it with something better. I'll discuss proven techniques for overcoming bad habits when I give you the story, including environmental designs, mindset shifts, and behavioral substitution, so you can create lasting change in your life and not feel like you're missing anything. Number six, the role of accountability and tracking progress. So, one of the most powerful ways to solidify new habits is through accountability and tracking, whether it's using a habit tracker, journaling, or having an accountability partner. I'll explore how measuring your progress keeps you motivated and ensures long term success. Plus, I'll also talk about how wins, like the small wins, build momentum and lead to lasting transformation in my story. So, number seven, real life examples and success stories. So success leaves clues. Here, I'm going to be sharing when I come back inspiring stories of individuals who have transformed their lives by setting intentional habits, whether it's an entrepreneur or somebody who took their business to the next level, an athlete who developed a game changing routine, or someone who overcame personal struggles. Now, these stories will show you that with the right habits and mindset, anything becomes possible. Number eight, actionable takeaways for our listeners and watchers today. So now that you understand the power of intentional habits, it's time to take action. Um, Leaving you with three simple habits you can start implementing today to improve your mindset. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Productivity and overall well being. Plus, I'll challenge you to commit to one new intentional habit over the next 30 days to see how easy it is and how something small and consistent with the action can lead to something that'll have major results in your life. All right, so now that we've gone through what the points are, I want to go through and give you the stories. That's how the show works. I always go through and give you the quick highlight, and then I go back and talk about them. So let's talk about two words. Let's talk about the word intentional, and I want to go to Merriam-Webster for a definition of the word intentional. So, intentional. It's something that people often take for granted. Okay. Intentional is an adjective by Merriam-Webster. It's done by intention or design. So that didn't really help us much, right? So let's look at the word intention, what one intends to do or bring about. I love when they use a definition to define a word with another form of the word. So let's go back to what does intend mean? Okay, intend is a verb. And according to Merriam-Webster, it's to have in mind as a purpose or a goal or an aspiration, a plan to design for a specified use or future. Okay, so that's what we mean by intentional. All right, so what is a habit? Well, a habit, according to Merriam-Webster, is a noun, a settled tendency or usual manner of behavior, an acquired mode of behavior that has become nearly or completely involuntary, an addiction, a behavior pattern acquired by frequent repetition or psychologic exposure that shows itself in regularity or increased facility of performance, a costume characteristic of a calling rank or function. A habit is also a piece of clothing that the nuns wear, a manner of conducting oneself, bodily appearance or makeup, the prevailing disposition or character of a person's thoughts and feelings, and or the mental makeup, characteristic mode of growth or occurrence, and the characteristic assemblance of forms at crystallization leading to a usual appearance. Now, when we say habit as a verb, so things like to cover with, or as if with clothing, if I say to you, the habits that you have will shape your success. So, what is that stating about? That is the things that you believe are the core. Remember, we talked about core values before, right? So, habits are really something that gets derived because of your core values. All right, now let's jump back to the top and let's go through all these. So, now that we know what intentional habits are, we know what forms them in the sense of like what they are, but we haven't learned how to set them yet, right? So why intentionality matters so much. Like I said, have you ever been stuck in a cycle of unproductive routines? I mean, we've had this happen, right? It can happen because you get overwhelmed by all these infinite possibilities and things you have to do, like these real large tasks. And so setting habits on a purpose allows you to grab life by the bull of the horns and take control of life instead of letting external circumstances dictate your outcome. So you can either be proactive or reactive. Most people in life act reactively. And it's not because they choose to, it's because, it's like, let's say they show up somewhere and suddenly there's a fire. Now I'm using fire or whatever it is, or maybe they go somewhere it's too cold. They're not prepared for that climate change. They're not prepared for that emergency. And so when we're not prepared for something, what do? We react. When we prepare for something, like if we prepare for an emergency, maybe you're preparing for, let's say, you do a fire drill. So how? Let's just talk about this. How do you prepare uh, for a potential unwanted fire? Things like to do on a drill, right? Things you practice over and over again. So there is a plan, all right? And the first thing we have to understand is that the plan starts with everyone always says it comes from, evacuation. And although evacuation is important, it's not the entire piece of of your of what you're doing. Okay. So when we think about fire drill procedures, everyone, first of all, has to be on board with what we're doing. All right. We're holding a fire drill. Not going to tell you when it is. When the alarm goes off, we need to go out just like it's a real fire. So, number two, communicate your plan. What are the plans of the fire uh, drill so that you can enact this in real life? It's important everybody knows what it is. It's often important to tell people when it is, when it's not going to be, because if you tell people when it is, then they're like prepared. So you don't want them to be that prepared, right? Set the goals, the aspirations, rehearse the procedure, observe, and of course, reflect. Okay. So you can do roll call surveys. Are you safely evacuated from the location, your home or your office? One for not safe, two for need help, three for I'm safe, or four for safe, but not in the office today. So this is a great way to do roll calls. You can do it at home too. So one, I'm not safe. I'm still in the building. Okay. Two, I need help and I'm out of the building. Three, I'm safe and I'm out of the building. Or four, I'm safe and I'm not even on premise today. Okay. This is important to understand this. And it's also important to come up with a diagram of how to evacuate, because you tell people, hey, you go down this hallway, you make a left, you make a right. Maybe you're new to this office building. Maybe you're someone that never visits this particular branch. So it's important that you know, even when you go to a hotel, right? They have this placard on your door. And I always tell people, take a moment to look at that, because even though you may think you know the exit route, that might not be the best exit route. When you're on a plane, I always pay attention to the drills on the plane, the emergency drills. Hopefully, we'll never need them. So things like green indicates emergency exits. Okay. Fire extinguishers are usually indicated by red. A red line is the primary evacuation route. A blue line can usually be the secondary evacuation route. So these are just some things. So we have to set the goals or aspirations, time from drill activation to completion of the evacuation. How long does it take? We should be able to get out of our house in less than 32 seconds or whatever it is. Time to report completion of the drill. Successful shutdown of equipment where appropriate, if that needs to be done. What's the assembly point? Where's the point that we're all going to meet at the time of a drill? Hopefully that it's not a, if it isn't a drill, we still have to meet there, right? Reflect and improve the plan over and over again. It's important that you understand what these procedures are, because in the event of an actual emergency, guess what? Um, you're going to be like worrying about, what do I do? I haven't planned, right? So the keys of a good emergency drill are: don't just drill for fires. Drill for things like earthquakes. Drill for things like active shooter, and teach people principles at all different ages. Be specific about the type of disasters you have and the plans for each. Regularly review them. Maybe have a pop quiz if it's a school, or maybe if you ask questions and people know something, maybe you give somebody an additional allowance or something, because it's important that people take this seriously. Review your emergency plan and make sure you know how to get out safely. It's recommended that you do monthly emergency drills. I know that may not always be possible, but you should do them several times a year so people are familiar with them. Disasters don't respect your time or your schedule. Neither should your emergency drills. Nighttime drills are especially important. So most kids probably think a disaster will only hit between the hours of 9 and 3. Well, unfortunately, somewhere there may be an emergency at 2 in the morning. Now, let me attest to this. So when I went to my college, and I was actually staying there on weekends, which was more of my senior year, because my freshman, sophomore, and junior year, 95% of the time I was coming home to help my parents' business. So I was leaving like on Friday, because I didn't have class on Friday after being a sophomore. As basically a sophomore and a junior, I could easily have, and a senior didn't have to have class on Friday. So that was really good. And so I did that every single weekend, more times than not. And guess what? Well, I can't tell you how many times that it wouldn't just be a weekend. It could be during the week. I would go to sleep and it'd be 1 o'clock in the morning and the fire alarm's going. I'm like, really? It's 1:30 in the morning. So it happened once, right? Then it happens again. So after this happened, like, the second time, I was like, I got to be more prepared. So, a lot of times I'm in my pajamas, I'm sleeping in bed. I'm not just going to go outside in my pajamas or a robe. So I had my jeans literally on the chair, immediately adjacent to my bed. And I had a quick shirt that I could throw on, and my jacket was right there in the closet. And my shoes are right there. So I could literally have my clothes on, throw my jeans on, and maybe 2 seconds, 2 seconds from my shirt, just a quick pullover and a jacket. So I was already done and ready to leave in less than 10 seconds. And so this was something that a lot of people didn't realize. But when I started being prepared, you know what happened? Eventually, we didn't have those emergency drills. Now, they weren't really drills, they were fires. We had very bright people that were setting their drapes on fire and getting them caught in the toaster and all kinds of crazy things. A lot of fraternities and sororities were doing things, and their heads just, let's say, weren't really functioning well, especially when they're trying to live on a full stomach of alcohol. Well, they don't really mix. So my point is that emergencies don't happen when you want them. They happen when they happen. All right. So that's important to understand. Be intentional so you can be ready. The science behind the habit. When we want to replace something, whether it was, I'm not a smoker, and I've told you why. I'm not going to go into that again on this show, but my grandfather died when I was only like second or third grade. So maybe you want to replace smoking. Maybe you want to replace overeating. You can substitute things like exercise. You could substitute things like water. So I got off soda, oh gosh, many, many years ago. And it was actually done on a funny bet. And then the person says, I'll bet you can't go. I said, I don't want to get off. I don't want to get back on soda. And then I got into juices and things like that, but no soda. And then I got really healthy and got into water. And then I would still do some juice once in a while. Or if I wanted like something at a restaurant, I might have them give me all seltzer and just a cup, little bit, just to change the color of the seltzer to give it a little flavor. And so that was important. So when I learned that I could replace my soda with, let's say, a club soda or water, and I got to appreciate it, it was really amazing. So when you have a good habit to replace it, the bad habit disappears and you don't miss it. So, steps to building intentional habits. And this is a question I know for a lot of people. So, yes, how do you build an intentional habit? Well, that's not easy, but it takes some practice. Okay. You make deliberate choices that align with your values. Again, that came from what? Our core values. Um, you have to understand that habits require some work. Um, Focus on doing something new for 3 days, continue doing it for 3 weeks, and continue doing it for 3 months until it becomes a routine. The thing is, you want to start small, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But breaking bad habits, number four, we all have them. So let's not cry about them. Let's figure out what we can do to make our lives better. Be accountable for your habit if it's not something good because you don't want to do that anymore. And understand that real life happens. So success leaves clues. When people are being successful, well, you get tips on how that's working. So, takeaways from this: if you understand the power of intentional habits, which you probably do by now, um, you can understand that to start a habit right now, maybe you want to start a habit to study more. So, you could start with something very simple, like maybe you start with 5 minutes a day, then maybe you go to 10 minutes, and you just keep increasing it. Maybe you decide, like I started a new habit a few weeks ago doing squats. I started with just a few. Now I do like 15, 3 sets of 15. So I do 45. Now, for the first week, I got to tell you, I was doing them every day, which that was just nuts. Then I realized like I'm starting to get this like lower back pain. I thought I did something wrong, but I didn't. It's just normal for what they call the delayed onset muscle pain to sit in because those muscles have not been in use. I also felt like my glutes were on fire and the hamstrings were on fire. I'm like, oh my gosh. So every time I got out of the chair, I could feel it. Now I can get out of the chair and it's no big deal. So what do I do now? I realize that I do it consistently, but now I do it I skip a day. So like I was doing it every 2 days. So now that the pain's gone away, I now wait a day or two and then I do it again. And as long as there's no pain, I'll skip one day. If there's still pain, I'll skip 2 days. And so that's actually helping me build a stronger core. And I got to tell you, I feel like I'm empty if I don't do my squats. It's this routine. Maybe it's studying. Maybe it's brushing your teeth. Another one for me many years ago was flossing. I feel like I'm not properly ready to go to bed, or I'm not properly ready to leave the day if I haven't flossed my teeth. Right. So this is important to understand that habits are good for our life. Okay. And just like we practice habits for fire, for earthquakes, for active shooter, for let's say they call it code. You might have heard of Code Adam. I'm not sure if you guys know what Code Adam is. So Code Adam is a safety program for missing children. When a child is reported missing, Code Adam procedure is activated. So Walmart's do Code Adam, and lots of stores do Code Adam. So you might be asking, Code Adam came about. It's a missing child safety program in the United States and Canada, and it was created by Walmart retail stores in 1994. The type of alert is generally regarded as having been named in memory of Adam Walsh, the 6-year-old son of John Walsh, the host of Fox's America's Most Wanted. Adam was abducted from a Sears department store in Hollywood, Florida in 1981. A search was undertaken by Adam's mother, grandmother, and store employees, and public address calls were made for him every 10 to 15 minutes. After approximately 90 minutes of fruitless searching, local law enforcement was called. 16 days later, Adam's severed head was found. His body was never recovered. Today, many department stores, retail shops, shopping malls, supermarkets, amusement parks, hospitals, museums elicit the Code Adam program. In legislation, it was enacted by Congress in 2003, And it mandates that all federal office buildings and base or post exchanges on military bases adopt the program. Walmart, along with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, and the departments of several state attorney generals have offered to assist in training workshops in order to help other companies to implement the program. How does it work? So companies that do implement the program generally place a code Adam decal at the front of the business. Employees at these businesses are trained to take the following steps according to the NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. If a visitor reports a child is missing, a detailed description of the child is obtained, which should include their name, age, hair color, eye color, approximate height, weight, clothing, and a photo if the visitor has one. Care is paid to the shoes as they are harder to change than any type of clothing. So that's very important. The employee goes to the nearest in-house telephone and pages code Adam, describing the child's physical features and clothing. The visitor will be directed to the entrance to help identify the child. Following the business's code Adam plan, some employees will monitor entrances and note down potentially useful information, while others search the business in sections. All employees will ask children for their names, and if the adult accompanying them is their parent. If an adult is seen attempting to leave with a child, employees must not physically intervene to prevent putting the child or others at risk of immediate harm. So let me say that again. If an adult is seen attempting to leave with a child, employees must not physically intervene to prevent putting the child or others at risk of immediate harm. Other than cashiers, all employees search likely hiding places for the missing child. The police are immediately called. If the child is located and appears to be lost or unharmed, their identity is verified. If the child is located with an adult that is not their parent or guardian, reasonable efforts will be employed to delay the departure of the adult without endangering the staff or the customer. After the child is either positively identified and reunited with their guardian, or all collected information has been turned over to the police, an employee will page store-wide again to cancel code Adam. So a lot of people ask, does code Adam mean that all doors are locked? Well, additionally now, all exterior access to the building is locked and monitored. Anyone approaching a door is turned away. The employee goes to the nearest in-house telephone and pages code Adam. So this has changed. They never used to do that, but now they actually lock the whole doors down. So I hope this was useful to you guys today, and I hope you'll understand that intentional habits, like the intentional habits from building the Code Adam program to helping you lose weight, to helping you gain good grades in school, to helping you make a positive change in your life, are just one thought away. So why not make that happen? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. Please do check out BelieveMeAchieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to catch you guys real soon on another show. Be well, everyone.